Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. The work session of the East Grand Forks City Council for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 was called to order at 5 o'clock. Everyone, please turn on your microphones. And would the city clerk please call a roll?
Mayor Mark Olstead.
Here.
Council President Ryan Larson.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Reed.
Here.
Council Members Candy Schumacher.
Here.
Ben Huttunen.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Donald Casey.
Here.
Karen Peterson.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's jump into it here. Item number 1, review of bid results for the 2025 City Project number 3, Lift Station number 13 Rehabilitation. Mr. Emery.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council, Mayor. So yeah, we opened bids for Lift Station 13 Rehab Project last Tuesday. We did receive 2 bids, one from ICS and one from Tony Anderson Construction. The low bid received was from ICS. They were about 25% above my engineer's estimate, but both bids were, within about 6% of each other, which again kind of confirms to me that, we did get competitive bids. Is kind of where the market's at. So, and just kind of in my discussion a little bit after the bid opening with a contractor and stuff, I do believe that just all the discussions with tariffs and everything and material suppliers not, honoring their quotes for more than a short period of time, contractors, because we're kind of asking them to honor their bid for 60 days, in the event the council wouldn't award it. But, contractors are kind of having to, probably build in a little bit of contingency too into their bids to, just in the event material prices and that type of stuff do go up before, they can lock in with a supplier. So I do think that has some effect, no doubt, on the quotes. But we did meet also that Tuesday. I met with Reid and Carla and Jason and just kind of discussed where the bids were at, looked at what, the city had for funding. They would utilize funds out of the wastewater enterprise funds. So, and just in our discussion too, and just due to the condition of the lift station, some of the piping is pretty severely deteriorated and needs to be kind of fixed ASAP type thing. So basically, since there is available funding, we do have a good contractor, ICS out of Grand Forks. They basically, during the flood, I think they pretty much did all the stormwater lift stations in town. So, they're very familiar with that type of work. So with that, we'd be making a recommendation to award the project to ICS in the amount of $304,155. So, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Emery. Mayor Olstead?
2 things. A, your comment about being competitive bids, or maybe your engineering estimates were a little low.
It's easier to
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's hard to estimate these type of projects.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
So. My other thing here too is, let's say that there is cushion in there because of the unknowns. Will we receive final bill differently? Probably not, but
Well, I
the
think
question to ask that if
I think a bid's a bid. In my discussions, they would be willing to potentially work with us a little bit too, if there is.
I get it, they're trying to cover themselves too. I totally
Right.
understand it, but
Yeah.
if there isn't that increase, it'd be nice not to have to.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's communication we can have. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Riopel.
Just following up on that, I would say if a bid's a bid, that any change orders should be highly scrutinized. Say, hey, you might have had a little cushion in there. Maybe you should just do away with the change orders.
Have to see, it depends on what the changeover would be, but, hopefully it's a fairly straightforward project. I don't want to never say there won't be a change order, but, you know, again, I would hope we have everything covered.
Mr. Helms?
Yeah, 13, that's one up on 23rd, right? That we're
It's
looking
23rd and 3rd Avenue.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
It's the one that was
Just wanted
built during the flood.
to
Yep.
verify, make sure.
It serves Mr. Riopel's house, so.
A lot of work there.
Lord knows we need to fix it then.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Mr. Pukshavinsky?
Thank you, Mr. President. Anything that's tariff related, I'm assuming, just looking at the bid here, it's going to be the electrical and mechanical? Do you think that's accurate? Because I'm assuming we're not importing concrete and...
I would assume, yeah, most of it's going to probably be, you know, electrical, mechanical, maybe some of your building materials, that type of stuff.
Okay. Right now, the tariff on China is set at 145%. So we should probably, on any of these projects where there's going to be any sort of electrical or mechanical, where there may be some items that are being imported, we probably want to have contingencies in place to determine whether or not we want to move forward with those projects.
Right.
I was talking with Mr. King about this last week, that, you know, I think for the projects that he's working on, if there's items coming in from China and we've already got bids on this stuff, those bids are probably no good anymore because of the items that we're having imported. And we're not doing the importing, but the contractors we're working with are importing that stuff, and at 145%, that's basically doubling the cost of anything. So just something that we need to keep in mind and understand that as a city that these are some things that we're going to have to make decisions on. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Mr. Emery.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item number 2. Consider approving cooperative rehabilitation agreement for the Minnesota Avenue Point Bridge rehabilitation. Mr. Huttunen.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members, and mayor. The federal sub-target dollars, which the city receives every 4 years, is coming up again next year, 2026. The project that we've identified that we would plan to use those funds for is a rehab of the Point Bridge or the Minnesota Avenue Bridge. It was last rehabbed in 2006. We did have WIDSETH conduct an inspection of that bridge last summer, along with some MnDOT work that needed to be done there. And they've produced a condition report and a preliminary estimate of what that project will look like, and that's included in the packet under the next item number 3, which is related to this project. So they've proposed a scope of work in order to use the federal subtarget funds in a interstate project like this one that connects with North Dakota. We'll have to have a cooperative agreement in place with our neighbors in Grand Forks over the shared use of the funds and the cost share of such. So that is what this agreement does, is it sets a 50-50 split of the cost of the improvements made to the bridge structure itself. The federal subtarget dollars can be used for construction funds only. And then the two cities would share, again, in that 50-50 of the plans and specifications and engineering of the project. I will note in the project plans and in the condition report, it does talk, and I'll let Mr. Emery, if there's questions, address them the best he can, but it does talk about the approach on the East Grand Forks side needed some work. Those that use the bridge regularly, you know, there's a little dip or a swale there as you come onto the bridge. That we're looking still at, and WIDSETH will have to take a deeper look at the suggested or best practice for repairs or improvements to that. But whatever those repairs or improvements are, that'll be 100% costs on East Grand Forks. So the federal subtarget dollars can still be used for that if there's remaining dollars available once the bridge structure itself is done. Otherwise, it would be local funds or state aid maintenance type funds that would be used for that portion. Grand Forks would have no responsibility with that piece of it. The same as if they have approach improvements on their side, it would be their cost 100%. So this agreement has been through the city of Grand Forks already. They have had it through one of their committee of the whole meetings, and they voted approval of it last night. So once we get approval on this side, then it'll allow us to take the next step with getting WIDSETH started on putting the preliminary plans together.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riopel.
Reid, can we break that into two different parts so that we can use more of the funding? Let's say we only use 900,000 on the bridge itself for the federal funding. And we can break that bottom part, the approach, into a different work order, and then we could probably use that 80% or 20/80 again on the balance.
If I understand your question, I think, and Steve, jump in, but I would say it'd be eligible to be used for that portion if there's funds remaining. From a bid package perspective, I would defer to Steve on how we would split that up if we're bidding it separately as a separate package in the proposal.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you're right. It would, everything is pretty much 50-50. I guess that's something we could ask, is if, being the city would kind of be on the hook for 100% of the approach work if we could use 80% of our federal funds to cover whatever that cost is, and I don't know if that would mean, when we bid it, as if we'd have to bid that as an alternate, or how we would exactly handle that. But I mean, it's a great question. I think it's something we could find out. Because I think with, we could potentially get up to, I think it was 1.2 million, and I think, we're not going to probably hit that threshold unless there is a lot more work associated with our bridge approach. So.
Yeah, to add to Mr. Riopel's comment, I think it would be ideal from a schedule perspective and probably a public understanding of the project to utilize one closure of the bridge and to fix the approach and the structure maintenance at the same time. Is if we close the bridge, with back-to-back projects, everyone's going to wonder what we're doing.
Well, right, yeah.
So,
certainly we'd plan that.
Yep.
And there must be some efficiencies there as well with project management and whatnot.
As the project goes, it would have to be one project, I think, with the funding sources.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Any further questions for Mr. Huttunen or Mr. Emery on the agreement? Okay, I see none. Let's move on to item number 3 then. Consider authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for 2026 City Project Number 1 for the Point Bridge Rehabilitation. Mr. Emery.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So I think Reid kind of gave a pretty good background. Again, like Reid said, every 4 years we do receive the federal funding, and to be eligible for those funds, these projects need to be on, I guess locally it's called the TIP, and the statewide it's the STIP or whatever. And again, this project has been kind of identified, for some years now. It's been on the TIP and STIP. So again, most of the construction should be split 50-50, again, except the approach work, like Reid's already alluded to. The biggest thing right now is we do need to get started with, there's going to be some environmental work that needs to be completed. There's also, we have to have an approved project memorandum before the state will allow us to even move ahead with plans and specs. So again, getting approval to do that, sooner than later is going to be critical, especially for the environmental stuff. So right now, we did put in there, again, the estimated construction cost that was, again, WIDSETH completed that condition report last fall, and our bridge department did put together, an estimated construction cost of, again, almost 2.3 million. Right now, we're estimating plans and specifications at about 84,000, which again will include the environmental work and the project memorandum. And then construction services right now, which would be, construction inspection type work. I think when we estimated, if I remember, didn't we estimate how many weeks was it again? It was 50 hours a week for like 2 or 3 months, and so we're estimating right now construction at about 132,825. for a total project cost of 2.5 million roughly. It kind of depending, and then we did have in there the funding kind of breakdown. Again, we got our federal funds, max of 1.2 million. We would be able to utilize state aid funds to help cover the engineering costs and also the 20%, 20% construction that the federal funds don't cover. So we could use state aid dollars. And on the North Dakota DOT side, again, they're receiving funds of about 920,000. And then I just put in there East Grand Forks just for any local, funding. So that's kind of really the funding breakdown. So I get this time we would just be, looking to get authorization to, proceed with, I'm saying plans and specs, but included in the plans and specs again is the environmental work that needs to be completed along with the project memorandum and stuff. So I think that's what I have, unless you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Olsted.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it looks like to me that we're right now about 396,000 balance left after you have the federal funding and the NDOT. So with that, would ours be the 198, half of that, the 50-50? So with our state aid, what do we have an idea what we have anticipated left in that? Reason I'm leaning this thing toward what Mr. Reid is talking about. If we have to do something different on our end for that dip, is there other funds that we have access to that we could use? If, let's say you guys figure it out, maybe it's going to cost additional $300,000. Just throwing it, so we'd be basically at $500,000 on our end total. Is there other funds that we can?
We'd have to look at what we have in our state aid account. Those monies are always an option. And if we wouldn't have adequate funds, you can always kind of advance funds through that program too. So, I think once we kind of figure out what we're going to have for a fix there, then we'll have a better idea.
Because this year I don't think we're using any of that, are we? Any projects? We're not using that money on any projects this year, correct? Am I wrong?
Correct.
So it'd be nice to know by next week or whatever, send us an email what those balances are.
I think our balance right now is, I'll double check it, but I think we're around 600,000 right now. So, but I can verify that for you.
Be nice that we can, think about it. Okay, we're going to use this next year for that project because we want to make sure that's corrected because we can't, go, we'll just let it go and then because it's going to slide. It's going to keep doing it. We don't want to go back in a couple of years and have to do something.
Yeah, and right now and kind of through this process, our bridge department found there was a geotech report that was completed in 2005 by Midwest Testing, and it was completed for interstate engineering. And I just don't recall how that was ever initiated, whatever, but we did find it. And kind of reading through that report, there is an identified kind of a landslide down in that area. So when you looked at the full report, one of their recommendations was extending the bridge like 150, 160 feet. It was, we're talking a major project way beyond what this is. But we are currently reviewing, the issue down there with some geotech consultants just to see if there's more of a, I guess I'd call it a temporary fix right now that's going to, at least give us more longevity than right now. It seems we're getting about 4 or 5 years out of it, and then we're having to kind of mill and overlay or fill it again. And
the flow coming from both rivers going north and on that south side of it, that's where we're having issues, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because we always had water come up and over the road there.
Yeah. So Reid and I talked, at some point, you may be, it might be 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we're probably going to have to look at a lot more of a major project that, may include extending the bridge and everything to get out beyond those slip planes, but
I'd like to hear the history of why they made it the way they made it with the curve. What was the reasoning?
yeah, I don't know. And like I said, we kind of tracked Kent, one of our bridge engineers tracked down that geotech report from 2005, and I just don't remember, I wasn't the city engineer at that time, but I just don't remember, Greg even talking about, any geotech work that was completed over there, but, and why interstate engineering at the time. I just don't know the history, but like I said, we are consulting with geotechs to try to find a little more of a longer term fix on what we're getting, because like I said, we're overlaying it about every 4 or 5 years right now, it seems like, so.
Wrap we put on the south side, is there some other, the bank there? What do we do?
Could be the new bridge might be needed. A little further down the river.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. Maybe just some pilings in there, might help a lot on that approach without any problem. But my question was, can you explain that construction services to me a little bit more? What is that funding actually, what are they doing?
Well, basically, we got staff during the entire construction process that's going to be out there making sure that the project's being completed per plans and specs. Also in that, there is, a lot of documentation and stuff that MnDOT's going to require during the process that we'll have to complete and stuff, and then kind of project closeout documents, and so it's kind of all included in there. And again, right now it's really an estimated. It's all hourly. So it's an estimated number right now, because again, if you get contractor A, it may take him 2 months, 8 weeks, and you get contractor B, it may take him 10, 12 weeks. So you just never know how long you're going to be out there totally. So
Contracted services is a engineering fee then?
right. And typically that would include, and I don't see much need for that here, other than depending on what we end up with that bridge approach, but that would typically include, like on most of our projects, any construction staking services and that type of work too.
So is this, because I don't recall seeing construction services on a lot of these other estimates, is that just because this is a federal or a state project, or?
No, we have construction services on every estimate we provide you. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Is traffic control included in that number?
Well, that traffic control would be in the 2.3 million. That would be a construction cost, not a engineering related cost. Yeah. But no, that's typically in all of our stuff, we always have, in our budgets, we have plans and specs, and then we have construction services, basically.
Well, I know you always have staking and whatever else on there. I've seen that, but
Yeah.
is that the same thing that
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
So-
a lot of times I
okay.
call it staking and inspection. Being this one, I don't see maybe a lot of construction staking. I just kind of called it construction services.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yep.
I think that's just the point to reiterate, though, is that it's an hourly billed service. So Steve's trying to estimate right now in that number how many hours and weeks they'll be there, but it's all billed hourly per how much time they're actually on the project. So it fluctuates with the project, how long the projects take, and how much inspection needs to be done.
And there is on our MnDOT federal projects, there is always more inspection time than probably our local city projects, just with the amount of testing and paperwork that's kind of required. It's a little more heavy on that end, no doubt.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Helms?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Emery or Mr. Huttunen? Okay, I see none.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on to item number 4 then. Request to hire JLG Architects as design engineer for the facility improvement projects. Mr. King.
Thank you, Council President, City Council, and Mayor. We are currently working with JLG on a written design proposal for the facility improvements project. JLG has been one of the major stakeholders in the pre-design phase and the pre-referendum portion of this project leading up to the sales tax. The agreement that JLG has proposed to us has been reviewed by Kennedy and Graven. It's then been returned to us to work with JLG to get it finalized, which we're in the process of doing that right now. The intent would be to have the final agreement for your proposal on the May 6th work session. Council meeting. I would say that the major portions of the contract are already finalized, the biggest ones being on the budget impact for the percentages for the two sites. One is for the Civic Center Sports Complex, we're at 7%, and for the VFW Memorial Arena, we're at 6.25%, which are, I would say, favorable for those two sites. Recommendation would be to allow city staff to present the finalized design for the City Council at the May 6th meeting.
Okay, any questions for Mr. King? Mr. Riepel?
Is the baseball diamond anywhere in this?
Yep, that's included
Okay.
on the Civic Center site.
Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you. Let's move on to item number 5 then. Request of East Grand Forks School Readiness, the use of the Civic Center Arena.
Thank you again. The Parks and Recs Department has received a request from the East Grand Forks School Readiness Program to use the dry floor space at the Civic Center Arena for their second annual Anything Goes event. The event is scheduled to take place on June 4th and 5th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day. The school readiness program would be responsible for all the setup, takedown, cleanup, pretty much everything. Our role would primarily be to let them use the space and our tables and some electricity. So it'd have a minimal budget impact, and the recommendation here would be to allow the school and this school readiness program to use the Civic Center for that event. I should mention that all the proceeds from this event go back to the preschool program.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. King? Okay, I see none. Let's move on to item 6 then. Request to distribute free one-day pass to swimming pool. Mr. King.
This request comes from the East Grand Forks PTO. It was brought forward that they wanted to do like an end-of-school package for the students. Started out, I believe, just at New Heights Elementary. We brought it forward to the Parks and Rec Commission, and it kind of grew from there. And the intent of the idea was handing out these passes for people to come and use the pool one day for free to entice other family members and families to come in and use just overall use of the pool. Anticipated that we would hand out about 1,800 passes through the school district from K through 8. The daily admission cost for a pass right now is set at $6. Could be a great way to boost what's that?
Pool usage.
Pool usage, yep. Don't really have a great idea on how it's going to impact the budget. I think that families that are going to still buy family passes they're still going to do that. The 10-day passes are still going to do that. It would be one use per student. Front desk staff at the pool would be the ones that would regulate that. Recommendation would be to allow the parks to offer a one-day pool pass for K through 8 and all the kids in our school districts, including Sacred Heart and Riverside Christian.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. King? Okay. I see none. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yes, Mayor Olstead, please.
Just want to remind everyone, we have the Life Connected City Social on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30, River Cinema. I appreciate if you would like to come and ask questions or get to know some of us. But it's going to be 10-15 minutes thing for me, and the rest of it's going to be just talking to everybody and getting to know our citizens. So, thanks.
All right, thank you. Looking forward to it. Yes, Mr. Huttunen.
Thank you. Just a reminder, next Tuesday, Thank you. Next Tuesday, we'll travel to Thief River for the Tri-City meeting. If we could meet here at the parking lot around 4:30, I think like the last count I had, I was planning on 8 attending. Best plan would be to drive our personal vehicles. We don't have a city vehicle large enough to haul everybody that we want to drive over there. So I think Karen has offered that she'd be willing to drive if we needed and can haul as many as 6 maybe. I'd be willing to drive too. If there's any others that want or prefer to drive themselves, certainly that's an option. Mileage will be reimbursed to those that do drive. But let's meet at the parking lot here at 4:30. Plan to be there by 5:30 for a quick meal, and then we'll start our agenda at 6 o'clock or as soon as we're wrapped up with eating. But if anyone has any questions or can or can't attend, please let me know.
All right, thank you. Any further comments for the good of the order? Okay, I see none. With that, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Helms.
Second.
Second by Riepel. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes and meeting is closed. Thank you.